Hi, are you Miss Moss?
I am. Good morning.
I was told that I needed to come and meet with you.
And your name again is?
Miss Ann, that's what the students call me.
Okay, Miss Ann. If it's okay if I call you that?
Sure.
Okay, yes. I'm here as the literacy coach for the school. This will be my first visit to you. And I'm making some visits to all the ELA teachers. And I'm here to just provide you with support, with some coaching support. And really, if there's any type of challenges you might be having or any successes you might want to discuss, that's what I'm here for.
Well, first of all, why are you meeting with me?
Because you're an ELA teacher, that I'm meeting with all the teachers, and I'm providing support to really the entire school of ELA teachers. So I just want you to rest assured I'm not here for monitoring or evaluation, but totally for support. To help you maybe clarify some goals you have for the school year, or maybe just talk about some things you've been considering for your students.
So you think we can do this in about 10, 15 minutes? Because this is
Certainly.
my coordinating period.
And I do want to thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule, and we can certainly talk within this 10-minute time frame for you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So what have you been thinking about this school year, about your students or about upcoming school year?
Well, you know, this is the beginning of the school year, so I'm really busy. One thing is, you know, I've been teaching for over 25 years. And all of a sudden we get a brand new principal, young, I don't know how many years she has in education, and she came in over the summer and she changed our schedule, curriculum, everything for English language arts. So yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated about that after teaching the third grade for so long.
Okay. So you're frustrated with a lot of the changes, and you have a lot of expertise in your area,
Yes.
and you may be wondering what might be some effects of those changes for your students.
Yes, because in fact, I work with a lot of the new teachers over the years when they come in. So I'm just wondering what's behind this conversation. Because one thing is she changed my schedule, so I'm upset. I'm now moving from the third grade to the fourth grade, which she considers looping. And all of a sudden she decided on a few of us at specific grade levels to loop with our students.
So there's been a decision made by administration to start looping
Yes.
with some of the
Yes.
teachers.
Yes.
Tell me more about looping.
Well, basically, it's the students that I had last year in the third grade. Now I'm going to teach them for the fourth grade. And I've never taught fourth grade before. I've always stayed in the lower elementary. For the last 10 years, I've been teaching third grade. The parents always loved me teaching the third grade. I enjoyed the third grade. I have everything all set. And now I got to change everything. And it was something that we really had nothing to give our input about. She just decided to go with the looping. So it's a matter of now changing everything into the fourth grade.
So as a third grade teacher, you felt very comfortable, very competent in teaching third grade.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And now you may have to make some changes because you'll be going to teaching fourth grade.
Right.
So as you think about teaching fourth grade, what might be some differences between teaching third grade and fourth grade?
Well, of course, fourth grade, you know, you're getting into, as far as language arts, a whole lot more with complex reading skills. I mean, you're moving from very literal type of questions after reading a story into inferential and evaluative. Vocabulary, of course, is more complex. I mean, even the informational texts. I mean, in the third grade, of course, I was responsible in my homeroom to teach social studies and a little bit of science, but now I really have to get into the social studies. So I know that informational text is a big piece of the curriculum for the fourth grade. And that's something that, since I'm looping and I know my students, that I haven't done a lot of, and I know that.
So one of the big differences between third and fourth grade would be that you'll need to focus on informational text, and that really the complexity of skills is much greater in the fourth grade than in the third grade.
Yes, right, right, which of course is going to require me to do a lot more preparation since I didn't know about this change. So that's what I've been trying to do, is get all my things together so I can do some prep work and planning with the reading series and the social studies textbook and everything that is required for that particular grade.
So planning is one thing that you know you have to address. You've begun that process. What are some of the strategies you've been using in your planning for this fourth grade?
Well, you know, I always did a little bit of grouping, okay? I always did that. In third grade, they enjoy that, you know, because of the social aspect. And, you know, differentiated instruction is always the big strategy, you know, the most relevant strategy that's out there. And so I've been doing that. But I think with the fourth grade, I'm really thinking about with that informational text. That's kind of like sticking up there, that I have to do more with that. And I know my students have struggled with that. And I'm just wondering whether or not I need to kind of meet them where they're at. And that's something I've been kind of thinking about within the class, but maybe grouping them maybe just a little homogeneously for the informational text part and working with social studies. And maybe that would help. So I don't want to do a whole lot of different things right now. I'm trying to get, of course, my feet wet with the fourth grade curriculum. But I'm thinking of incorporating that approach, meeting them where they're at right now.
So Pat, you really value working with kids where they are, really finding out their skills and their weaknesses, and then finding out where do we go from there. One thing you've considered is grouping.
Yes.
Homogeneously, particularly with social studies, to get to that informational text piece.
Right. Right.
And Pat, there was one other thing you mentioned. You talked about grouping, and you also talked about differentiated instruction. So when you think of differentiated instruction, what might that mean for a social studies lesson?
Well, you know, with the fourth grade curriculum, with the reading strategies, they really have to learn how to make connections beyond the text. In the third grade, everything was within the text, what they were reading, so they could find answers and get an understanding of, you know, what they were reading. But in the fourth grade, it moves them beyond. And so making connections would be a key skill area that I really want to focus in on. And by grouping them, those students that are still maybe at the so-called literal level, grouping them together and moving them at their own pace. But I believe that I could probably come up with some students that may be ready for going beyond the text and making some real connections. And that's something I really need to kind of think about and see how I'm going to work that in.
So Pat, you're going to be pondering how we might help these students make connections and go beyond the text, a higher level skill they've had in the third grade.
Right.
And also with this homogeneous grouping and that differentiated instruction. So as you think about making these connections, you talked about students that may be at a more literal level, students that may be at a more advanced level. I do have some data.
Oh?
Yes, for your third grade students that we were able to look at.
You mean for my class you have some data?
Yes, it's just school-wide data, and I was able to pull the data just for your classroom. And I'd invite you to just take a look at it and think about, as you look at the data, what might be some considerations you'll make in this homogeneous grouping you're thinking about. And that might be a way for us to start.
Okay, let me see. Let me see what you have.
So we have this data here, and just taking a look at your students.
Okay, you can see the narrative text, they did very well on that. And the informational text, main idea, it seems like they did all right.
Okay.
Look at the text structure, though, for sequencing. That's probably, maybe close to 50% got that. So that's
Okay.
something I can focus in on.
Mhm.
Oh, look at this though, the cause and effect, that structure. And you know, I spend quite a bit of time with that in narrative text in a third
Okay.
grade.
Mhm.
But it is more difficult when you're looking at informational text. But you know, I could do that in social studies.
Okay.
You know, looking at specific areas
Mhm.
in the textbook where they have to look at that text structure. And either, you know, identify the cause, if the effect's there,
Okay.
or knowing what the cause is, what possibly could be the effect. Well, I could do something like that. Wow, only 3 students, 3 of my students were proficient in that. So it looks like that's something I really have to emphasize in my room. Yeah.
So Pat, after looking at the data, you noticed 2 things. You noticed that sequencing and also, in particular, cause and effect, where only 3 of
Yes.
your students were proficient.
Right.
So that might be an area you may want to concentrate with on that informational text and social studies.
Yes, right.
Okay. Well, Pat, it sounds like that might be a good place to start. And I'm wondering, might you be available sometime next week so we could really have a further conversation about how do we really get this strategy in place, this cause and effect, and even look at what students will put in which groups to get a good start?
Yeah, so, okay, I'm willing to do that as long as we could meet on my coordinating period,
Oh,
which would
that's
be the
fine.
same hour
Okay.
on this particular day.
Okay, so
That
can we
would-
put that in our calendars for
Sure,
next
yeah,
week?
we
Same
can do
time,
that,
same
sure,
place?
right.
Okay.
All right.
So let's do that, and then I'll be here. And if you, in the meantime, any questions or maybe need more initial data on the students or want to even go over this some more, I'm available.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Can I
All right.
take this
You
and take a
certainly
look
may.
at it?
That's yours to keep and
So
yours
that-
to continue
okay.
to examine. And you might find some other information in there we didn't lift this time. Be happy to
right.
talk to you about that when I come in next time.
Okay, and maybe I'll look
Okay.
at some specific students that can help me
Okay.
with the grouping.
Okay, that
Okay,
sounds good.
all right, okay.
So
All right.
I'll see you next week. I thank you so much for your time.
Well, you're
And I think it's been
welcome.
a valuable conversation for both of us, and I look forward to working with you throughout the whole school year.
All right, well, thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you
you're
very
welcome.
much.